I never believed houses could be alive. I thought that was just something people said to scare kids or a way to explain creaks and drafts. But the house I bought was different. From the moment I stepped in, I felt it watching me. Not in the playful way you imagine, but patiently, like a predator waiting for the exact moment I'd make a mistake. It started subtly. The first night I noticed the armchair in the living room wasn't where I remembered placing it. I'd been meticulous about arranging the furniture after moving in. I double-checked before bed. Yeah, that chair, the one I used to read by the lamp, had shifted 2 feet to the left. I shook it off, telling myself it must have been me. Maybe in a sleepy daze, I had nudged it. The next morning, the chair was back where I left it. I laughed nervously. Okay, maybe I'm losing it a little, I muttered to myself, grabbing coffee in the kitchen. I didn't notice the subtle scratching on the hardwood floor, as if something or someone had dragged the chair back and forth. Days passed, and I tried to settle into normalcy, but the house's movements grew more daring. One evening, I went to the bedroom to grab my journal, and the dresser drawers were half open. I know I closed them that morning. I could feel a shiver travel down my spine. My logical mind whispered, "It's the wind. The house settles at night." But the air was still and the windows were locked. I started keeping a notebook, documenting the changes, chairs, drawers, a coat rack slightly tilted. Every day, little adjustments that I could never explain. But then came the whispers. At first, I thought it was the neighbors, until I realized there were no neighbors. I lived at the edge of town, the nearest house miles away. The whispers seemed to echo from the walls themselves, always just beyond comprehension, always calling my name. One night, exhausted from moving boxes and fighting the irrational fear that gnawed at me, I fell asleep on the couch. Around 3:17 a.m., I woke to a cold draft. The living room door, which I had locked before bed, was slightly ajar. My heart pounded. I could feel the floor beneath me tremble ever so slightly. I didn't move, listening. That's when I heard it, a soft scraping sound like fingernails dragging across wood. Slowly, methodically, moving closer to the bedroom where I slept. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. I stayed frozen, and the air grew heavier, pressing down on my chest. The scraping stopped abruptly, and I could hear the faint sound of the armchair being nudged across the floor. I had left it where I always read, in the corner, but it was now positioned directly facing the bedroom door. Sleep never returned that night. I sat in the corner, clutching a blanket, watching as the house seemed to breathe. Walls shifted imperceptibly. The hallway, which led to the bathroom, appeared longer, distorted. The ceiling seemed to sag and rise with each exhale of the house. I whispered to myself, "It's not real. I'm dreaming." But dreams don't rearrange furniture while you're awake. The following days were a blur of fear and disbelief. Every morning I found objects in impossible places. The keys from the kitchen counter on the top shelf of the bathroom cabinet. A book from the living room in the freezer. I stopped touching anything unnecessarily, trying to minimize my interference, but it made no difference. The house continued its subtle dance, as if cataloging my life, deciding when to show me its power. One evening, I decided to confront it. I recorded everything with my phone. The scratches, the whispers, the shifting furniture. I played it back in the living room, watching the armchair slowly glide across the floor, accompanied by soft creaks that sounded like deliberate footsteps. My stomach turned. Whoever or whatever was here had a rhythm, a pattern. It was learning me, watching me. That night, I slept lightly, one eye open. Around 2:44 a.m., I heard the floorboards in the hallway stretching unnaturally. The walls of the bedroom seemed to bend. The door frame elongated, the hinges groaning under an impossible strain. And then the bedroom door opened by itself, inch by inch, revealing the hallway that seemed to stretch infinitely. I could see shadows moving, flickering in the periphery. Shapes that didn't belong. I wanted to scream, but no sound emerged. My phone was dead. No signal, no battery. The house had consumed it. The shadows grew bolder, gliding silently over the warped carpet. My dresser drawers creaked open in unison, books tumbling to the floor, creating a soft cascade of chaos. I crawled toward the corner of the room, clutching a pillow, and I could hear it whisper again, my name, elongated, drawn out, taunting. I wanted to leave, to escape. But the walls seemed to close in, squeezing, contracting, as if I were being swallowed. The hallway stretched further, the light from the lamp flickering like a dying heartbeat. Hours, or was it minutes, passed. Time had no meaning. The house revealed more of itself. Mirrors reflected rooms I'd never seen, hallways branching off into impossible angles. Doors that didn't exist yesterday were now part of the architecture. I realized in terror that the house was alive. It wasn't haunted. It was conscious, aware, interacting with me like a predator would with prey. I tried to communicate, shouting, banging on walls, but the house absorbed the sound. My words echoed back in warped, distorted forms. I started hearing laughter, faint but sharp, echoing from above the ceiling and beneath the floor. The air grew damp, heavy, suffocating, smelling of old earth and decayed wood. The breaking point came when I noticed the bedroom door, which had opened into the infinite hallway, begin to close on its own. Slowly, deliberately. The doorknob twisted in the lock as if unseen hands were testing it. I scrambled to the other side, trying to force it, but it resisted. The wall shivered, the ceiling sagged, and the floor quaked under my feet. The armchair from the living room appeared behind me, moved silently across the warped floor, blocking my only exit. I backed up into the corner, heart hammering, sweat dripping down my face. The shadows from the hallway spilled into the room, crawling up the walls. Shapes materialized. Tall, thin, faceless figures, moving without sound. They didn't touch me, not yet, but their presence was unbearable. The air hummed with anticipation, like a predator savoring the fear of its prey. I realized then that the house wasn't trying to kill me. It was playing, observing, teaching. Every night, every move I made, it adapted, learning the rhythm of my life, twisting it into something unrecognizable. Every misplaced object, every lapse in attention gave it power, gave it a way to rearrange reality itself. I've tried to leave. Doors I opened led to walls. Windows show the night sky. But when I step outside, I find myself still inside. Mirrors reflect corridors I don't recognize. The house is endless, and I'm trapped. Days blur into nights. My phone no longer works. My food stays in place but never tastes right. Even my own reflection seems foreign, as if the house is reshaping me slowly. Now I sit in the living room, typing this on a laptop that materialized somewhere in the corner. I don't know if anyone will read it. I don't know if anyone will understand. The house moves silently behind me as I write. The walls breathe. The floor shifts. My chair tilts. My lamp flickers. I can hear the faintest of whispers echoing from rooms that weren't here a minute ago, saying, "You are ours now. You belong." I don't sleep anymore. I barely eat. I barely exist. And every time I think I've understood the rules, the house changes again. I see corners that shouldn't exist, ceilings bending impossibly, shadows where no light should fall. Every step I take, it moves first. Every thought I have, it twists into nightmare. And tonight, I hear the front door of the house opening slowly, though I haven't touched it. Footsteps echo up the hall, approaching my living room. I freeze, staring at the doorknob as it twists, as it turns. I have no idea who or what is entering, but I know the house is smiling. The last thing I feel before writing this final line is a hand, impossibly cold, brushing my shoulder. Not human, not animal, not anything I've seen before. I don't turn around, I don't move. And I write, the house moves at night and I move with it. There is no outside, there is no escape. And now it watches me from inside me.